Chapter 3. Adventure on Jackson's Island. Summer arrived, and school closed for the holidays. Tom should have been happy, but he wasn't. He tried not to think about Muff Potter and Injun Joe. Still, the memory stayed in his mind. At night, when the lights were out, Tom often imagined Injun Joe's face in the darkness. Because of this, he slept badly, but he could not speak about it to anyone. One very hot afternoon, Tom sat beside the Mississippi River with his friend Joe Harper. They watched the boats passing on the water. Sometimes they fished. Sometimes they just talked. Suddenly, Tom sat up. "I want to leave this place," he said. Joe looked surprised. "Leave? What do you mean?" "I mean something exciting," Tom said. "Let's run away." Joe's eyes grew wide. "Run away? Where would we go?" "I know the perfect place," Tom replied. "Jackson's Island. We can live there like pirates. We'll sleep under the trees." Jackson's Island was in the middle of the Mississippi River, about 3 miles south of St. Petersburg. Nobody lived there. "Let's invite Huck Finn too," Tom said. "But don't tell your parents. Don't tell anyone. Go home and bring some food. Then meet me here at midnight." Joe agreed. That night, 3 boys pushed a small boat into the river. Tom, Joe, and Huck. They carried bread and meat with them. Huck also brought his pipe. The boys rowed quietly down the river until they reached the island. They carried their things onto the shore and made a fire under a large old tree. Soon the meat was cooking over the flames. The smell was wonderful. When the food was ready, the boys ate happily. They were sure it was the best dinner in the world. After that, they became quiet, their eyes closed. Soon all 3 boys were asleep under the stars. In the morning, Tom woke first. The sun was shining on his face. He stretched and smiled. Then Huck and Joe woke up. The boys ran to the river and jumped into the water. They swam and laughed. After swimming, they went fishing. Before long, they caught several big fish. These became their breakfast. They cooked the fish over the fire and ate everything. Joe leaned back happily. "That was the greatest breakfast of my life," he said. The boys spent the day exploring the island. They walked through the trees. They swam again and again. They fished, talked, and enjoyed their freedom. Late in the afternoon, they returned to their campfire. Suddenly, Tom raised his head. "Listen," he said quietly. "Do you hear something?" The boys listened. Far away, they heard the sound of boats. They ran across the island to the riverbank. Many boats were moving slowly on the water. Almost every boat from St. Petersburg seemed to be there. "What are they doing?" Joe asked. Huck thought for a moment. "They are probably searching for someone who drowned," he said. "They did that last year, when Bill Turner fell into the river." Joe watched the boats carefully. "Who do you think they are looking for?" he asked. Tom suddenly shouted, "I know! They are searching for us." Joe and Huck stared at him. Tom laughed. "The town thinks we are dead," he said proudly. "Everyone must be talking about us right now. They feel sorry for us." The boys thought this was wonderful. They felt famous. Night came again. Joe and Huck quickly fell asleep, but Tom stayed awake for a long time. The next morning, Joe suddenly looked around. "Where is Tom?" he cried. Huck sat up. "I don't know." Then he pointed toward the river. "Look! There he is!" Tom was swimming toward the island. When he reached the shore, the boys asked many questions. At breakfast, Tom explained everything. "I went back to town last night," he said. "I stood outside on Polly's window and listened. Huck, your mother was there too. They were crying and talking about us." Joe leaned forward. "What did they say?" "On Sunday," Tom said slowly, "there will be a funeral for us." The boys stared at him. Then Tom smiled. "And I have a brilliant idea." He explained his plan. Huck and Joe laughed with excitement. Yes, it really was a wonderful plan. That evening, the boys caught more fish and cooked dinner. After eating, Huck took out his pipe. He began smoking quietly. Tom watched him with interest. "Can Joe and I try?" he asked. Huck nodded. Soon all three boys were smoking. Tom tried to look calm. "Smoking is easy," he said. Joe nodded bravely. "Yes, I like it too." But after 10 minutes, their faces turned pale. Tom stood up slowly. "I think I will take a short walk," he said. Joe jumped up. "Me too." They walked into the trees. About an hour later, they returned. Neither boy touched the pipe again. Sunday morning arrived. In the town of St. Petersburg, nobody was smiling. The church was full. Aunt Polly was there. Joe Harper's parents were there. All the townspeople had come. The minister spoke kindly about the three boys who were believed to be dead. Many people were crying. Even Becky Thatcher could not stop crying. Suddenly, a small sound came from the back of the church. At first, nobody noticed. Then the minister looked up. He stopped speaking. Everyone turned around. And there, walking into the church, were the three boys. Tom first, then Joe, and behind them, Huck. For a moment, the entire church was silent. Then everyone began shouting and laughing and crying at once. Aunt Polly ran forward and hugged Tom tightly. Joe's parents did the same. Aunt Polly laughed and cried at the same time. "Oh, Tom," she said, "you are a terrible boy, but I love you." The minister raised his hands. "Today is a joyful day," he cried. "Sing, people of St. Petersburg. Be happy." And the whole church began to sing. It was the happiest funeral the town had ever seen. Time passed. Weeks went by. Then the day came for Muff Potter's trial. The entire town gathered to watch. Tom and Huck met near Tom's house before the trial. Huck looked worried. "Tom," he said quietly, "you didn't tell anyone about him?" Tom shook his head. "No, but Huck. Muff Potter is in jail. People think he killed the doctor." Huck whispered nervously. "We cannot tell the truth about Injun Joe. He would kill us." Tom knew Huck was afraid. He was afraid too. But he could not forget Muff Potter's sad face in the jail. And Injun Joe was still free. It felt terribly wrong. That night, Tom returned home very late. He was excited and restless. He could not sleep for hours. The next morning, the courtroom was full. Injun Joe was there. Muff Potter sat quietly with his head down. The trial began. Witness after witness spoke. Every answer made Muff Potter look more guilty. Someone said the knife was found near the doctor's body. Another person said it belonged to Muff Potter. Someone else said they saw him with a knife earlier that day. Muff Potter looked more tired and hopeless with every minute. Then the judge spoke. "Call Thomas Sawyer." Everyone in the courtroom looked surprised. What could Tom Sawyer know? Tom walked forward slowly. The judge asked, "Where were you on the night of June 17th? "At midnight." Tom took a deep breath. "In the graveyard," he said. "Why were you there?" "I went to look for ghosts," Tom said. "I had a dead cat." People in the courtroom laughed, but the judge looked serious. "Where exactly were you standing?" "Behind some trees near Hoss Williams' grave." Suddenly, Injun Joe's face became pale. "Now," said the judge quietly, "tell us everything." Tom began speaking. The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone listened carefully. And then, before anyone could stop him, Injun Joe leaped toward the window. Crash! The glass shattered. In a second, he was gone. For 1 week, the people of St. Petersburg treated Tom like a hero. Everyone praised him. But Tom did not feel happy. Injun Joe was still free, and Tom knew he was dangerous. For many nights, Tom slept badly. Weeks passed slowly. The summer continued. Injun Joe did not return to the town, and little by little, Tom began to forget.
Подпишись, пожалуйста, или хотя бы поставь лайк. Один лайк не меняет мир, но меняет путь того, кто делится смыслом.